What if you knew that that pain, that anxiety, that nervousness, every time that it would come up and you don't run to the vices and you go through it and you sit with it, what if you knew that every time that you sat with it and got through it, that you were forging the new you? Like the new you was being born in that. I'm telling you, this is like, I learned this through public speaking. Like every time I got up in front of the room, I was so nervous. But I knew every time that I allowed myself to feel like that and push through, that nervousness was getting weaker and weaker. Okay, that's how you have to start looking at it. Like whenever you get in a social interaction and you feel nervous or anxious or you have doubt or fear about whatever it may be, know that every time that you are feeling that, your body feels that, and you go through it and you push through, it's getting weaker and weaker. You are becoming stronger and stronger. That is the cost. In order for you to actually come out on the other side, in order for you to develop yourself as a public speaker, in order for you to be comfortable in more situations, whether it be public speaking, social interactions, whatever it is, that is the very cost. And if you're willing to go into that moment and feel that pain in that moment, and that nervousness and that anxiety and whatever it may be, however your body's going to feel in that moment and cause you to look stupid, and maybe you do look stupid, maybe you act a fool, and you feel like shit, you feel embarrassed, you feel ashamed after it, you feel guilty or whatever it is, that's the very cost. And that's the thing that everyone's avoiding. So they're not going to get the level up. They're all holding on to the ego. So if everyone's holding on to the ego, no one's willing to take a step, well then no one's going to grow. They're going to protect their identity. Yeah, they're going to protect this version of them that they are being right now that they think is so valuable, but they're not even getting the results that they want. So why would you want to hold on to that? Okay. When you step out and you let go of the ego, you're actually able to grow. And that's the thing. You see 99% out here are not willing to feel that nervousness and in an interaction of reaching out, of introducing themselves, of being the first person to show interest or whatever it is. They're not willing to do that, so they're not going to grow. So if we really look at it for what it is, allow yourself in those moments, because I go through this and I experience it as well. So I get in those moments and my body is feeling nervous and I may say something, that I didn't want to say or didn't come out the right way. After that interaction, I just say thank you. I'm at peace with it completely because I know that I have to go through those types of interactions for me to get comfortable, for me to actually present myself in the manner that I want to present myself in, for me to actually say the right things that I want to say in those moments, because the more often that you are in those moments, the more comfortable you're going to be. So if you can really drop your ego and be like, I don't give a fuck how I look in this situation, because you got to understand, man, all this shit's temporary. You are judging yourself in a moment that is passing so fast and that no one even cares about. The thing is that no one actually even cares about that moment. They only care what they're experiencing. So they only care about how they look. Okay, so if you go into a situation and you're feeling nervous, or you say something and you're embarrassed about it, people don't even care. They only care about themselves. So in that situation, they're like, oh, whatever. Michael said something stupid. That was weird. And they carry on and they don't care because all their focus is on them. All their focus is on, oh, what did I say? Well, how did I come off in that situation? Okay, so if you understand this, now you're at peace because you're like, oh, well, I'm only thinking about myself as well. And they're only, criticizing themselves as well and trying to critique themselves as well. They actually don't even care about me. Not in a negative way, but just in a way of like, hey, like all the attention isn't on you. Like your value, your identity, your worth is not tied in that moment. You think it is, but they don't even care. I look at it like, how would I act? Like, what would I think if someone did what I just did? And 9 times out of 10, I mean, 99% of the time, I'm just like, oh no, I'd encourage that person. You know, I'd support them through that. You know, if they felt uncomfortable about it, I'd be like, dude, who cares? Hey, we're good, dude. Like, it's fine. Like, stop even, like, don't even trip about it. It was whatever. You know, like, I encourage people. So if I encourage people, I should act like that with myself. Okay, so if you understand that, now you can stop judging yourself so harshly on such a minuscule moment that you realize is really nothing. In the grand scheme of life, if you really think about this, everything is temporary. These moments are passing by so much faster than you realize. Stop being so critical of yourself. Start expressing yourself freely. Drop the ego, because the ego is the very thing that's going to stop you from actually realizing your potential. Because you're not going to grow. You're not going to step out in those situations and maybe look stupid or embarrassed or ashamed or whatever, you know, and possibly be judged. And you're going to actually become who he created you to be. Because you're willing to go through those moments that 99% are avoiding because they simply don't want to experience that pain. That's all it is. That's why they're clinging to the comforts. That's why they're eating the junk food. That's why they're watching the shows every night. Is because they want some certainty in a life full of uncertainty. That's all life is uncertainty. Why can't you develop your relationship with yourself, develop your relationship with God, and be at peace with all of this shit? I mean, this comes at a very high level of awareness, though. You know, I may say this to you, and for some of you it may click. For some of you, it may be so far off that you can't even comprehend it. You're like, yeah, like it sounds great, but I just don't think like that. Well, you need to start developing yourself. And that starts from you developing yourself from within by doing the daily habits that I teach. I mean, that's really all it comes down to. Are you showing up for yourself, for your higher self, every single day? Or are you conforming to the lower self because it's so easy? I mean, that's really all it comes down to. Are you clinging to the lower self so that you can satisfy the ego and get certainty in this moment that's sacrificing so much more on the back end that you don't understand? Or are you actually stepping into your higher self, stepping into that pain, that discomfort, that nervousness, that anxiety, all of those, you know, uncomfortable emotions, but what's actually going to cause you to grow? So which one is it? I mean, that's really the only decision that you have to make. And the thing is, it's a decision you make day by day. It's not just one day you get to this point and you're like, oh yeah, I don't need to make those decisions anymore. No, you're going to forever have to make these decisions. Are you going to align with your higher self or your lower self? That's really all it comes down to. So click the link in the description, join us in the higher self community so you can actually start making these decisions and start making progress and start aligning with who he created you to be, because that's the only thing that's actually going to bring you true fulfillment in this life, is actually following through on what you say that you're going to do and becoming all that he created you to be.